Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri from BiancoLand, and today I wanted to discuss something that I've been thinking about a lot, which is the problem with beekeeping. And so when you start looking at like videos and dynamics, you start talking about, all these problems beekeepers are having. So some beekeepers are complaining about pesticides, which reduce colonies. Others complain about the varroa mite. Others just complain about colony collapse in general. So you're losing all these hives and you can't produce enough honey, and therefore your profits go down or you lose money for the year. Some other people talk about some of the aspects of like shipping your bees all the way to California, because now pollination actually pays more than the honey itself. And then a lot of this is driven by the fact that China, while they have the most beekeepers as a country, there's a vast majority of cheating going on with China, where they actually put in like rice sugar or other fillers into their honey so that they can sell it at a profit, whereas the sugars cost a small fraction of what real honey would cost. And this floods the US market. The US is doing a lot to try to combat this, but again, beekeepers are complaining there's no money left in it, it's just not working out. And so I've been looking at this from a different perspective, and that perspective is that beekeepers just don't know how to do marketing. So when you're on a vast scale, I get it. Like you're selling to like General Mills for like Honey Nut Cheerios, right? You want honey that tastes consistent across every single batch. That's a completely other story here. But one thing I have noticed is like I'm reading online and some people are selling honey for like $20 a pound. This little bear here is 12 ounces. A pound is like 11 point something ounces. So it's a little bit more than a pound, but they're selling this for $20. You go into like these vast commercial beekeeping. What they do is they harvest a lot of honey, and typically they only harvest one region. So they'll go somewhere where there's like clover fields or there's like canola, and then they'll put all the bees out, do lots and lots of beekeeping, and then bring it all back. So what they do a lot of times as well is if they have honey coming from multiple locations, to keep the honey consistent in quality and in taste, they'll blend the honeys from different areas. So I think this is a huge, huge mistake on the beekeeping side. The reason being is that honey should be sold like wine. So I'm just gonna give you a little bit of a picture here. You'll see there are different colors of honey. So this honey bear right here is more of a dark color. He's not the darkest you can get. If you get like a buckwheat honey, it's a lot darker than this one. But this one's kind of a red. It's darker than your clover honey, but this is wildflower honey from my bees in Texas. The same bees produced this honey bear, who's from a different season and a different set of flowers. This one is more of the, I think, midsummer, kind of a late mix that the bees have done. And then these honey bears here are different colors, and they're different consistencies. This one is like almost hard. This one has a lot of pollen in it based on the season when it was harvested. But if you look at even like these two honeys, this bear is yellow. This bear is really dark. This one actually tastes like mangosteen to me. So if you haven't had mangosteen, it's an Asian fruit. It's very fruity, it's very aromatic. I believe based on the seasons of harvest and everything, this one is from goat's beard, which is like a sort of dandelion. And again, this one is a kind of like springtime, just full wildflower honey. These taste significantly different. Personally, I prefer this one more. I think this is my favorite. That being said, it makes my mouth and my throat itch a little bit. The reason being is it has actual pollen in it, and I have grass allergies, and this is typically when all the grasses are sprouting and the pollen's about. So these are very different, and such as wine, right? Why would you go down and pay like $8 for a bottle of wine? But then on the flip side, you have people that are paying, hundreds of dollars for a bottle of wine, and you have prices all in the middle, right? Honey is the same way. I don't understand why you would take like 4 different honey bears, 4 different types of honey, and then just mix them all to make the most generic tasting honey you've ever had. Again, the wildflower is amazing. This I think is 10 times better than anything I buy at the store. Clover honey is okay, but it's just a real generic honey taste. It doesn't have the complexity for me. So like this bottle of honey comes from a variety of wildflowers. It has a variety of different tastes and kind of notes into the honey. I think this one actually has kind of like a Sadir honey. If you know what that is, that comes from the Middle East. Sadir honey, which is Middle Eastern, has like a I say it's like an alcoholic taste to it, just a little bit. This one I think is even less than that, but it has like a little bit of like a bite to the honey itself. And as I mentioned before, this yellow one's one of my favorites. It just has a really fruity note. And so I think beekeepers in general, instead of going out and like trying to mass produce honey, they should like specialize in doing different types of honey at different types of the season. And yes, it's very hard to even get consistency. So it's kind of like wines where, you know, like a 1974, you know, Merlot or something from a specific region is worth a lot of money, whereas the exact same bottle of wine from a year later is worth almost nothing. Honey and beekeeping is similar in that sense that some years different flowers will actually flower. So if you have a lot of rain one season, you might end up with a lot of one type of flower and you'll end up with like one type of honey. Whereas like a different season, you might have a drought and so other things do well, end up with a different type of honey. And then again, like I've been mentioning, these come from different seasons. So different seasons, different flowers grow. And so you end up with a variety of mixes of honeys. I think that if you sold honey by vintage, so the year was produced, and then try to put some information about it, like this came from, you know, Dallas, Texas in 2018, or this actually came in Dallas 2017 in the fall. Having that, I think, would actually increase the profit of these beekeepers. But again, I just don't think they have the background in marketing and business. They just don't see the opportunity. I personally sell mine for $8 a bear. I only have 2 hives. I can sell out almost instantly because I have so many friends that want the honey. So I'm not really doing it for profit optimization, but to be quite frank, like these probably should go for $15 to $20 because they are very unique. So if you have a friend that loves like the wildflower but hates the, you know, goat's beard, then you should only be selling them, you know, wildflower, or trying to like try to get them to like look at different types of wildflower honey. But again, all this is marketing based. I think honey is in this mass production state. I think a lot of this actually hurts the beekeeping industry. I think all the chemicals we use is not a benefit to beekeeping as well, but that's just my personal opinion and take on this. I do all of my beekeeping organic, so I use no chemicals or pesticides. One example is today I actually did treatment for ants. So I get ants in my hive. I just take cinnamon, like what you buy at the store and put in your food, and I sprinkle it around the top of my inner cover, and that prevents my ants down here in Texas. So anyways, that's just my thoughts here on the commercial beekeeping industry and the problem they have, and a way to solve this by actually increasing prices of honey without having to deal with China, because China, I don't think, is going to be able to get very unique flavors when they're blending large, vast amounts of it and then putting in sugars on top of that. So it's a way to kind of circumvent that. It's a way to actually connect with your consumers because you actually learn more about the honey and the honey production, where it comes from. I think it piques a lot of interest in consumers. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time.